Hi, everybody. It's Marilyn Harris of Hard at Work, and we're on the show called The Impactful Legacy. And what does impactful legacy mean? It really means about whatever you're doing right now that is impacting your community, your clients, whoever it is that you serve. So today I have my guest is Jerry Fu. I just recently met him, and somebody recommended him actually to me. So here we go. So Jerry, tell me, welcome to the show, and please give an intro, like how did you get started in doing what you're doing now?
Yeah. So to not to go too far into the origin story, but keep it relevant. Basically, the wake-up call was when I got fired from the job and moved to Houston 4. And so I realized I had a lot to learn about conflict and how much I struggled with difficult situations and conversations. And so after I got fired from that job, I ended up at a job where my paychecks bounced while I filled for crooked doctors, and I had no idea how to confront a crooked boss, right?
Yeah.
And so again, the struggle you start to see, it's just, hey, I don't want to bring up difficult things, even if I'm the one that's hurting for it. And then same thing happened at the next company that I was fortunate enough to work at. I had technicians that weren't pulling their weight, and so I wasn't writing them up or firing them. And so management actually wrote me up because it said, your passivity, grace is nice, forgiveness is nice, and to a point, like, you're not hiring them to just give you excuses and not pull their weight, right? So how do you balance grace and accountability? And I had no idea how to walk that tightrope, right?
Right.
And then, so on the professional side, I realized just how much more I had to improve at difficult conversations. And also on the personal side, when I was dealing with volunteer situations where people were being difficult, whether it's sexual harassment in the church, where I had to confront a guy, in our class who was causing problems, or evicting a roommate, right? And so my own personal struggle to engage difficult situations in people is what led me to focus on that when I started my leadership coaching business a couple of years ago, because I know how much I struggled as an aspiring leader, and
Right.
I know how much I want to equip other Asian American professionals in their 20s and 30s that are now starting out and realizing, hey, you know what, I can't spare them from these challenges, but maybe we can equip them a little better. So
Yeah.
that is where my heart is. That is kind of like touch point for the legacy, right? This is what I want people to be able to say, Jerry helped me find my voice. Jerry gave me the courage to speak up. And not only did I speak up, but things are better because I was able to speak up.
Right. Right. I think that's a big issue for a lot of people, whether you're Asian or not, because we're taught when we're growing up to be a certain way, and some of us aren't really taught to speak up. Like for me, it's easier to talk and speak up for other people than myself. And that's, I guess, why I ended up in ground zero. But, ground zero has its benefits because it helps you to get clear about what the next step is, what you need to do, right?
Absolutely.
So I appreciate your honesty, Jerry, and the story that you shared with me before we went live. But so tell me some successful client stories you have about that you'd like to share with us.
Of course, yeah. So with one of my early clients, he was at one point in a church group, co-ed church group, and so a girl he wanted to ask out. So he asked her out, got her number, and for some reason she wasn't responding to his text or attempts to call him. So he does a little homework online, and it turns out she already had a boyfriend. It's like, uh-oh, what happened here? So, we're talking through the situation, and he's like, how do I can't believe she would do this, right? And so, right, how do we gently bring this up while still not avoiding the uncomfortable truth? And so, I just told him, hey, just be curious. Say, hey, help me reconcile something here. You're kind enough to give me your number. I thought you were interested in me. And then it turns out that I found out that you had a boyfriend. Like, what's going on, right? And so when you're able to gently bring that up to say, hey, there's something that's really bothering me, and I'm not trying to accuse you of anything, but I want to hear it from you. Please tell me your side of the situation so I can understand, right?
Yeah.
So, and the call he gave me afterward just to say, hey, she apologized, and she was just, she was just too afraid because she knows how much it takes, for a guy to ask out a girl, and she wanted to reward that courage. And it's like, yeah, great intentions, and this is not the best action to reward that courage, right?
Right.
So that was a simple, not simple, that was a good win for him. Another client story is when another client had a really passive aggressive boss, he tries calling her after hours, and she's at dinner with friends, so she ignores his call. The next day, he blows up at her. How dare you, ignore my call. If I need you, I need you. And I don't know how committed you are to this company if you're not willing to, kind of be available at a back's notice, right?
Right.
And so, she calls me and she's like, hey, how do I, resolve this situation without possibly getting fired, right? I'm kind
Right.
of on eggshells here because on one hand, I'm really frustrated, but I can't afford to lose this job here. So how do I kind of smooth things over so
Mm-hmm.
that things are at a workable status? And so we talked her through, hey, here's a couple openers that you can use to say, hey, I'm sorry things aren't better between us, right? I
Mm-hmm.
understand that if you're trying to reach me, um, and I didn't respond, I'm sorry if that came across as disrespectful, right? So now you're not actually taking responsibility for something that you don't have to take responsibility for,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so then, I said, well, let's try posturing the conversation for his benefit. Hey, I want to be sure that I am the best employee I can be for you.
Right.
And when expectations aren't clear on this, right,
Mm-hmm.
it makes it very difficult for me to know if I'm doing a good enough job for you. Because here's the problem, right? Like a lot of passive aggressive bosses, they like to play around in ambiguity because it
Right.
gives them an excuse to get mad at you arbitrarily, right?
Right.
So
Right.
like the clarity is not just, oh, you need to be clear as a boss. It's just like by requesting clarity, then he has nowhere to hide his,
Yeah.
his manipulation or his coercion. And then we said, hey, don't just jot these ideas down on paper. Like, let's go ahead and anticipate this pushback. And also let's rehearse these phrases beforehand, right? So
Right.
role play with me,
Yeah.
practice in front of a mirror, right? Record yourself on your phone. How's your body language? How's your voice tone? Are you calm? Are you collected?
Right.
Do you speak at a pace that shows you're not nervous, that you're relaxed, and that you are compassionate? And so, the thank you email I got like the next morning was just like I still choke up a little bit just thinking about just her when she just said, I don't know how I would have gotten through that without your help, and I'm
Right.
just so thankful. Third story, one of my recent clients, he's a new boss. He's been in his role for about 3 weeks, and he's dealing with a new guy, or a new to him, a
Mm-hmm.
guy on his new team that has been there for about 10 years.
Uh,
Really frustrated, really skilled technically, um, but is lacking some of the people skills, the softer skills to really motivate
mm-hmm.
and elevate a team. And so this guy is, super frustrated, and other bosses, his previous bosses, just kind of gave up on him because every time they tried to give him hard feedback about the areas he needed to improve upon, this guy would get defensive and say, oh, well, yeah, coach me. And then you start to, bring up
Yeah.
specifics. Oh, no. Right. And he started to get really defensive. So, this, my client's like, how do I address this guy in a way he's going to take me seriously? How do I make sure that he's not going to be dismissive of my feedback? Right.
Right.
Because he's going to tell me, you've only been in this role, 3 weeks. How dare you tell me
Yeah.
how I'm supposed to improve at this, right? So we give him a couple openers and just say, hey, how does this sound? Like, because I'm not telling him what to do. I'm just saying, here's some phrasing that you could try,
Right.
see what you think of it, right? And I say something like, hey, do you believe I want to help you get this promotion? Yeah. Do you acknowledge that as your boss, I'm in a position to have the leverage to help you get the promotion that you're looking for? Well, yeah. It's like, okay. Um, are you willing to hear things that might be difficult for you in order to get this promotion?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Right. And so now with like when you posture yourself to say, hey, I'm being a guide to help you get what you want,
Right.
even if it involves like some detours or some obstacles that the
Mm-hmm.
map shows that you may not like. Are you willing to trust me as your guide to get
Right.
to the destination you want? And now the guy's probably going to be a lot more receptive to his feedback. And
Right.
and I told my client, I said, give him disclaimers. As soon as you get defensive, this conversation is over. Don't expect me to help you, right?
Yeah.
Because as long as you aren't willing to receive my feedback, this will not move forward. Not because I don't want you to move forward, but
Right.
because your previous bosses have given you the same thing, right? And so now we show him, hey, what is the cost of ignoring the feedback again,
Right.
right? So now you put it in his court, you put the ball in his court, and you say, hey, look, um, I can't help you if you're not willing to help yourself.
Right.
And that's where the magic happens, right? So these are the kind of client wins that I'm trying to do for more clients, right? To say, hey, let's give you some wording, let's get you some muscle memory in the dojo
Yeah.
before you fight out on the street, and then you can
Mm-hmm.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an interesting point that you a guide, and if you don't want to change, it's on
Mhm.
your ball court. because
Mhm.
I think quite often that happens, and somebody's been there forever and they haven't moved their position or their role or whatever, and they just want to harass the new person, you know.
Mhm.
So I like your stance about that is be that you're there to support him rather than be your boss kind of thing. It's just a slight little positioning statement, really, to say, let me help you,
Yeah.
rather than the other way around. I want your help.
Yeah, no, it's a weird thing with servant leadership because on one hand, it's like they're working for you, but if you're really a servant leader, you're actually working for them. Not
Yeah,
because they, like hold the keys to your payroll or anything like that.
yeah,
They obviously don't pay your checks, but it is like I see it when I was a pharmacist, right? I remember it would be like me and one other technician on a slow Sunday, and so a car would roll up in the drive-through,
yeah,
and I'll be like, "Can you get that?" They'll be like, "Make me."
yeah.
It's like, oh god. And then they're like, "You can't make me do anything I don't want to do," and you're just like, "I hate this. I hate this so much."
Yeah, I can
I'll go get it.
certainly understand how you really help a lot of people, especially people that have a hard time voicing what they want or what they need and how to get it, you know. So I can certainly, and leaders too, because, I don't know, when I grew in my workspace many years ago, but, um, we'd have bosses that, well, I'm your boss. They have no training, no
Mhm.
nothing. And I'm your boss now, and you're going to do as you're told, And sometimes it works, but sometimes it's like you're saying you don't create the culture that you really want to be working in or you want place you want to be in. So what are some of the pain issues besides not getting what you want, do you solve with people, with your leaders?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's not just about desire, but really just give them give them a clear path forward, right? Just to say, hey, here's some ideas. Let's give you some tools and some ideas and see how you want to play around with them, right?
Hmm.
And once I share some of the things in my toolkit, and they say, oh yeah, I want to try out that wrench, I want to try out that power drill, right? That looks
Yeah.
really fun. I want to try that for myself. And then we'll report back in 2 weeks and say, yeah, now that you've had this new tool, how did things go? So an example I'll give is just with one of my clients, he was scared that his job was going to be eliminated in the next round of layoffs.
Right.
And he's like, I don't want to just sit here and wait for the wave to roll in and just, wash me ashore.
Right.
How do I be more proactive in making sure
Hmm.
I stay employed? So we'll have you talk to your boss about the kind of role you need to play or the needs that the company still
Hmm.
needs met in order uh, to justify your salary.
Right.
Because you know what, maybe I need to do that. And sure enough, what happened? He met with his boss. He knew exactly what he needed to do in order to keep
Right.
meeting the needs of the company, even if it involved learning a new skill set, right, and
Hmm.
adapting in order to stay on payroll. But that was just the reassurance that he needed. Hey, you know what? I don't have to be scared and hope that they
Yeah.
like me enough to not lose my job. I can take a more active role in making sure that I stay employed. And I think when people realize, hey, don't focus on what you can't control. I
Yeah.
still can control something. Hey,
Yeah.
why don't I just do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's about controlling what you can do, not the other person, right? Because you can't control the other person,
Good luck. Yeah.
right? Yeah. Yeah. I like what you said too, that I work for them. They don't work for me. I think that's what Gary Vee always says, this is, we're in the position of us working for them. And I think that's a really good, different position to take. So tell me a little bit more about the clients you like to work with.
Yeah. Yeah. My heart goes out to Asian professionals in their 20s and 30s, whether they
Okay.
grew up here, right? And there's a culture clash between what they grew up hearing from their parents and then seeing what
Right.
happens actually in the workspace, or maybe they've just recently immigrated to the U.S. and realizing,
Right.
hey, yeah, the culture I came from, there's a language barrier on top of a communication barrier and cultural
Right.
norms barrier. I
Yeah.
need someone who knows both worlds in order to
Hmm.
help me navigate so things don't get misconstrued.
Right.
So whether it's conflict between what I grew up thinking to my own definition of success, to the definition of success my parents want for me, right?
Hmm.
Those are the people I have a heart for, because they realize it's like I have conflict with my family, I have conflict with my boss, I have conflict in myself,
Right.
because I thought, this life where I finished med school, married this smart, pretty woman, and
Yeah.
had, wonderful kids, and had a house in the suburbs was supposed to satisfy me. But
Right.
I've just realized I've inherited a different set of challenges. Like this wheel of life has not ended just because I achieved the success. And I
Yeah.
think that's what makes it ironic, is that, for a while, because my own pre-med dreams were not realized, and I got resentful that I thought I was missing out. And then I
Yeah.
see my friends who do have these things, and they're like, Jerry, like, this doesn't end. This didn't end just because we got what we wanted. Like,
Yeah.
life is still going on. It's like,
Right.
oh my, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, I liked what you shared earlier before we recorded about how your mother wanted you to be a certain way, and how
Mhm.
you didn't want that anymore, and how
Yeah,
would you going to get it? And like you were saying, I agree with you in but Asians, and because they have that culture thing. You can talk directly to them and they just look at you like, what are you saying?
we don't know
You
what
know?
you're talking about. Yeah.
Oh, all of a sudden, oh, I don't speak English.
Yep, that's the safety valve. So, no, no
Yeah.
language barrier. Sorry.
Yeah. It's not just with Asians either, but that's typically, when I'm, trying to talk to people, and I talk to
Mhm.
everybody, but it was just kind of that kind of thing is, so yeah, so it's like they get stuck into, what do I say? How can I communicate better? How can it be more effective? How do I get out of my own little community of who I am and who I work for and what I do, and enjoy the greater life things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about your legacy. I think you talked about the legacy of your life. So what is it that kind of impact do you want to make?
Yeah. Yeah. I think some of the things I hope to hear at my funeral, assuming I can even hear at my funeral, I hope people say, Jerry made me a better leader.
Mm,
Jerry inspired me to go out and dance more.
mm-hmm.
Jerry inspired me to travel more and experience new cultures and immerse himself in things. Jerry
Mm-hmm.
inspired me to read more because there's so many good books out there.
Right.
Jerry inspired me to get into cooking because cooking is another creative outlet that just is very generous and rich and just multiplies on itself.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I, I, Jerry inspired me to really, yeah, just have a more global perspective on things, so that
Mm-hmm.
I can do my part to help everyone feel seen, heard, and respected.
Right. Right. That's a wonderful legacy, Jerry. Very, very nice. Very nice. So anything you'd like to final say before we close out? Is there something that you would like to ask for that you don't have yet?
Sure. I mean, I'm happy to point people toward the free downloadable digital guide that I have as a simple framework to navigate difficult conversations. And
Okay,
you can find that on my website. Specifically, the site is www.adaptingleaders.com/guide.
okay.
And you can download that for free. It's got, the 5 steps you need, and see what kind of dividends it pays for you when you try it for yourself.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Jerry. Yeah, and Jerry's information will be below this conversation, so you can find out more information about Jerry and how he can help you or serve you. So, and I'm sure that there are many people that really would like your services, Jerry. So thank you for joining me today, and have a wonderful weekend, and be kind to each other. So that's what we're all here for. Be kind. So thank you very much, Jerry, for joining me today. I so appreciate you taking your time out of your business schedule. And we'll be chatting with you soon.
Thanks, Al.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Bye-bye.